From Viva Las Vegas to the world. Unlike many other bands currently from Las Vegas, these guys are actually for real from Las Vegas. Adrian and Ryan Patrick of Otherwise. Always good to see your smiling bearded faces. How are you?
Lou, look at you, Lou.
Oh, Lou.
You don't know where I've been, Lou. You don't know where I've been.
I know all about you. I've crawled Las Vegas with you guys on a few occasions, and I'm just glad I'm alive.
Us too. Yes.
You know, I'm sure we've spoken about this before, but Las Vegas is one of those towns that can be a great deal of fun to be from. It can also grind you down into dust inside of 6 months. And I've known people who have moved there, and that's what has happened to them. Now, how have you guys dealt with being from there? And then as a second part, how is it when, hey, our friends are in town and they want us to be the, tour guides from hell for this city? First question though, just tell me what it's like living there full time.
I mean, it's very much like what you said. It's a place of extremes, extreme beauty, extreme peace, and then also extreme darkness and
debauchery.
And as we've spoken to you over the years now, Lou, we've tried to infuse that into our art. And we greatly appreciate the fact that you acknowledging that we are actually born and raised there. A lot of big name artists have moved there and now represent and claim Sin City and do us justice, but we have a little bit more insight as to the underbelly of it and to the heights, the pedestals, so yeah, it's a town of dichotomies, man. It's a double-edged sword, just like rock and roll. So
being a musician from that town, is that good or is that bad? There's good studios in town, but do you need to get away from there? Like when it came time to do and I want to make sure I say it right, Gawdzillionaire.
It's Gawdzillionaire.
Gawdzillionaire.
Yeah, you got to say it for the Midwest. Those people,
Say it one more time slowly.
It's Gawdzillionaire.
It's Gawdzillionaire.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, we had to change it because of trademark issues, which actually totally played into the socio-political commentary of the album itself. So it was.
Well, tell me that story.
Well, it perfectly illustrated the point of living in a very controlled society where, it feels like, or you think you're free, but when it comes down to it, you're not really a free person or free soul. Like there's so many aspects of life that we're controlled by, whether it being the bills we pay or the bosses that we have to talk to, or, the rules and the laws that we have to follow. And so we had this concept, of let's put it to the art. And Gawdzillionaire came out, and we actually had the spelling a certain way, like the way you think you would spell it. And we made up the word.
We're Godzilla fans, right? We're 80s and 90s kids, grew up on Godzilla, and then we thought we made up this word, and
it came back from the powers that be that this would be a legal issue. And we just, after we got over the fact that it's so stupid and it was like, wow, this really actually paints the picture of what we are writing about on the record to begin with. So yeah, that's why it's a GAWD, oh my God.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because when I first heard about the record, it was its original name, because you guys were still in sort of the recording and concept stage. And it was later I became confused, I don't think that's exactly what they told me it was going to be. But then again, it turns out as big as Godzilla is, his lawyers are even fucking bigger.
Literally,
dude. You would. It's crazy to think that Godzilla has lawyers.
Yeah.
Everybody lawyers up when they need to, I suppose. And
fear is big business. He's a fearful, iconic creature. And fear sells. So he's got a great team.
So what is it about sort of the trials and tribulations from the album title? What is it about that ties in so well to the other themes that are sort of interlocked in this record?
The frustrations of, I don't know, we feel like sometimes our souls are being taxed, not just our paychecks. whether it be from, you know, the split,
The divisiveness.
the divisiveness of, you know, everywhere we look, and like the fear and everything that our country and our world has been through in the last couple of years. You know, this was kind of our take on, you know, there's people, potentially people sitting in rooms kind of deciding these games that they play with us to benefit their pocketbooks and their agendas. So you know, when we try to kind of talk about this on our own, you know, it's like, oh, stick to the music, guitar man, you know, like just play rock. And it's like, well, dude, we're human beings, and music is how we express what we feel. So, you know, this is kind of our statement. And so, you know, on Gawdzillionaire, there's so much, there's themes about money, death, you know, control, politics. There's a lot of that.
And we don't, and you know, again, Lou, we don't mean, you know, we get it, dude. You're an artist. It's like when like LeBron James is running his mouth and people are like, just play basketball, motherfucker. And it's like, okay, we're like, okay, we'll just play rock and roll. But our rock and roll is literally coming from the heart. It's coming from a real place. Like, we're observing our lives, you know, like, and we don't have another way to express it. We can't bite our tongues. Like full disclosure, our lead single says we can't just bite our tongues, because we would be doing a disservice not only to ourselves, but to the people like you, to my sons, his nephews, our parents, our women, our friends, our homies. We would be doing a disservice to them by not at least trying to address it on some level. Granted, we don't have the biggest stage. We're still a motherfucking bar band, Lou. We're still a goddamn bar band. But we're here and we're fucking pouring it out for people who give a shit to understand that, yeah, man, you kind of gotta like look around a little bit, dude. Like Instagram and TikTok and all your social media and Pornhub, that's not it. You know, there's so much more to existence, and we're just, I don't know. You know, one of our biggest influences, and Lou, you're probably as versed and studied as you are, as a legend in this game. There's an interview by Zach De La Rocha from Rage Against the Machine where he said he basically was done with music because even though millions of people were buying their records, nobody was doing anything about what they were actually saying. They were listening to the message. They were appreciating the message with money, with going to shows, buying merch, playing the songs, but nobody actually raged against the machine. And we're not trying to incite a riot or incite a revolution. We're just trying to like engage awakening. That's it.
And you know, and I think I understand. I know the piece from Zach that you're referring to, and I understand it. I don't know that I totally agree with it, because I think when you are trying to get ideas across with song, Rage Against the Machine, certainly a hallmark for it. Your Full Disclosure is another great example. I don't know that you can release a 4-minute song and have it be like flipping a switch and everybody gets it anymore. I think, at least my experience over the long run, is that, like with books, you can incrementally change the thinking of everybody. You can't change a billion people's thinking overnight. That's very difficult. However, you can incrementally change and morph things over with the right message over time. Now, listen, I suppose you could point at different things in history and, you know, well, not everybody thought they'd be stuck inside for 2 fucking years. And I'd be like, oh yeah, okay, I'd give you that, you know. But I think when you're trying to change people's thinking about the world around them, more often than not, it's a slower process, but one that if you continue to apply pressure, like in tectonics, you can move a continent. You just can't do it all in one day.
I literally just talked to my sons. We discussed the concept of palatial tectonics. So that was that.
So Is there anything out of the norm happy on the record that you would point to and go, most of this album's pretty serious, but there's this thing over here that isn't so bad? Which is not to discount the other messaging on the album.
Oh,
No.
none of it is happy, Lou.
It's so funny. I think it was Blabbermouth, a pretty big review of our record.
It was Blabbermouth. They said a ballad would have been nice.
And they said, a ballad would have really changed things up. And it's just it was so ironic to hear that.
Because we've always done that. We were always like, oh, you gotta be a fucking hard rock band and have a ballad.
Yeah. Our most ballady like song is probably the heaviest subject matter, which is the song La Familia. And it's the fastest song, it's the fastest tempo.
BPMs.
And it was the heaviest like on the heart. So
yeah.
I don't think so, really. There's what makes us happy on these records are the riffs, and like some of these the
vibe,
the guitar riffs, and we're just like
the drums.
That
Joe's
made us
drums,
happy.
bro, made us very happy.
And to be actually specific, the outro of our title track, Gawdzillionaire, every time I hear it, I giggle. I laugh out loud because it just takes everybody for a turn. So that makes me happy. That makes us laugh and smile.
Well, again, as heavy as it all is, it's listenable and it's got hooks and it's fun to hear, as dour as the subject matter might be, but that's never scared me off from anything. And again, where did you record all this? How did it get done? And what was the timeline?
We did it in Phoenix, Arizona with Matthew Good.
Yeah. Our second album with him.
Our second album, and for us, it was a first in the sense that he is the first producer. We worked with a lot of big names, Lou. A lot of fucking multi-million-dollar, multi-platinum guys. Like big names in the industry. And for whatever reason, after we cut Defy, which was our last record on Mascot, our current label, we were like, let's go back to this dude, because the process was very, he just pulled the best out of us. And like, he challenged the fuck out of us, like he would literally say to me, yeah, Adrian, that sucks. I was like, okay, bro, give me like 30 minutes. I'll go figure it out. I'd leave the booth and come back. And he was like, okay, that's what I'm talking about.
But do you ever get mad at that? Because I imagine, you're pouring your heart and soul into it and you're thinking, man, I nailed that. Dude, that sucked. Go eat lunch and come back later.
I mean, it is that is the mind fuck that is music, Lou. It's like, again, not to make this egocentrical, but when I've got sons, right? I've got kids, and when one of them does something shitty, I'm like, dude, you kind of suck right now, bro. But I love you so much. Like, how do I fix that? Like, it's a really profound process, and it's especially when somebody like Matt Good, he's an absolute savant. Again, we've worked with like massively talented guys, but this dude would come in and I would literally say like one word or one phrase to him, or my brother would play like two notes and he'd be like, okay, I got an idea. Like, and he's a savant. Like he's like a next level. And so for him to work with guys, which I will graciously admit, I'm much less talented than him. So for him to say, look, man, you can do better. I know you can do better. I've seen you do better. I've heard you do better. Go do better. And then I come back and it's better. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's very empowering.
Are guys and girls who have that savant-like power, is that trained or are they just born that way?
It seems like they're born that way. I feel like I don't think Matt, even as a guitarist, I studied classically, and the way certain things that Matt would play on guitar and write, it's just like you can't teach that. Yeah. You don't go somewhere to learn that. It just is like what
It's
are
innate.
what are you doing? You know, like what is that? It sounds wonderful, but you know, you didn't learn that in a classroom.
It doesn't make sense theoretically, but it's still fucking cool. You know.
Yeah.
So
And is he a modern gear guy with plugins, or is he a hey, check out this amp from 1954 that I got at the yard sale 30 years ago?
all that.
Yeah, he's both.
Everything.
He's both.
Yeah.
He's a great combination of both.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting guy.
Yeah. And it's his studio filled with like stuff.
You know, oddly enough, you'd be extremely surprised by what his studio looks like, how small and just tight knit it is with the sounds that he's actually getting.
See, now I you know what? I may have been surprised by that 5 or 10 years ago, but there have been so many great records since then, you know, that were recorded. Well, we turned my garage into a studio. You would never know it. You know, I big albums that were made in basements and things. The technology now is such that you can do it the same way you can run a media empire, you know, from your home. It's just the way the world is now, for good and bad, you know.
And that's a great point you bring up, Lou, because for a long time it was like, oh man, like where did you go to record? What legendary multi-million-dollar room did you record your album in? Like to give it like some kind of credibility, like street cred or something.
Yeah.
But nowadays it's just like, you know, you gotta find the talent. You dial into the matrix because it's a fucking thing, and you make it work. You know, and we got very lucky to work with this dude on the last 2 records, and I mean, they are, especially this one, Gawdzillionaire. It's I don't know, man. Whatever it's worth. When I finally close my eyes for the last time in life, I'll be proud of him. You know what I mean? So.
Well, I can't wait to see you again. How much of the new stuff are you doing in the set?
About half the album.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's as it should be. Yeah.
And it feels really good. It's really fun and
going over well with the crowds.
Yeah, it's going over really good with the crowds. So that's all you can ask for at this point.
Well, I can't wait to see you again soon. I love talking about music, and I love talking Las Vegas with you too. But we'll get a crawl there sometime this year.
Anytime you come, VIP eternally. All right.